Do you always want to put a whammy bar on a bass guitar? Today I'm going to show you how you can easily convert a Bigsby style tremolo to fit a bass guitar. It's real easy. I've been messing around with putting Bigsby style tremolos on basses for a while, mostly on bass 6s because they're just the right size and they line up and you can put them on. But what does happen is that the bridges have these little metal posts on there that hold the strings in place, and they tend to break under all this tension. And so like you can see on this one here, I actually have some strings sort of wrapped around the bar to make that work. And so that's the problem that we're going to address today, and it's wicked easy. But the other problem you're going to have, well, there's two problems with putting a tremolo on a bass, is one is most basses look like this and the bridge goes all the way to the end because the strings are so long, otherwise you'd be reaching way out here to play. So you might not have room to put this on. So really this is a hack that's going to work most for people that are building from scratch, specifically short scale instruments too, because the other problem you're going to have is getting strings long enough to go all the way around and over this tremolo and all the way to the nut and still works. So you're talking about building a bigger bass from scratch, or maybe modifying an existing bass to have a short scale neck on it. Sky's the limit. But anyways, I'm going to show you how to do the bridge part. The rest is up to you. Just for a quick real life example of where a bass tremolo might work is on an example of like this bass that I just recently built for a client. It is a 32-inch scale bass, and we did this big sort of semi-hollow body, so that kind of made it give me a little bit more room here so it wouldn't look weird and unbalanced like if you were to try to put one on like a J bass or something. So you can see we got plenty of room, and since it's a 32-inch scale, I use 34-inch strings, and you can see they just make it past the 0 fret, so you don't have problems with the threaded parts being where you're playing and stuff, and it all works out perfect. So now let's make this bridge rock solid for bass strings. Here you can see the common problem. Those little metal poles are breaking and snapping off and bending from the tension of these big, thick, heavy bass strings. I pulled all the pins out that were there, and most of them broke in the process because I'd already tried using this one. And what I got here is a 7/64 drill bit. I just used a drill bit to drill out the pins and make the holes a little bit bigger so I could tap them to put something new in that is threaded. And I'm using a 7/64 drill bit because I had these little Allen key recessed pins that I thought would be perfect, like the kind of thing that holds up the bridge on your regular guitar. You know, those. You put a little Allen key and you turn it in, but what I did not have was the right size tap for that. So instead I had to go to my metric set, and I found that an M3 humbucker screw seemed to be something that would work pretty well, but I would just have to cut the head off and modify it to work. This sort of poured metal that they use to make these things is not very hard, so it was very easy to tap. So now I just ran the screws in, which are of course too long and have those big heads, so I needed to cut them to the right length, and I figured since this is my first time, I didn't know how long to make them, so I cut them while they were in there, and then I thought that they might get stuck in there and have to file in, but I was able to actually get them out with a pair of pliers so I could clean up those cut ends and make it look a little better. But I'm just using what I had on hand, and I can still get them out by hand, so I'm going to take advantage of that to just, whoops, put a little bit of Loctite in there. And that should keep them from moving out. This will be on a bass after all. We don't want these things rattling out. The other key to using one of these on a bass is getting the oversized spring. See, this is the spring in the bag is the one that normally comes with it, but this one's a little bit beefier. It makes a big difference. Notice here I put 2 washers, one under each front screw, just to lift that front up enough so I could get those big thick bass strings underneath and wrapped around. On the first bass 6 I made, I used the regular size spring that came with it, and it just wouldn't stay in tune. There's just too much tension. But with that larger spring, it'll pull back and stay in tune, as you'll hear in this demo in a minute, and makes it quite functional. The other thing you should know about Bigsby's is a lot of people pull up on them, and you should never really pull up on them because you're just pulling up on these 4 screws that hold it into the instrument, and you can pull it right out. They're meant for downward only. Maybe a little tiny wiggle up. as you can hear, it works well and goes back to tune, but I had this second bridge that I had messed up in the process here. I decided to make that one, and I thought I would see if I could do it a little bit differently. So here I am getting those metal pins out again, and this time, instead of just drilling partway through, I decided to drill all the way through and see if I could actually run the screws up through the back. I felt like that would make the shaft a little bit longer and stronger, and then I could also take the screw in and out to cut it to length. There you can see I'm just tapping all the way through. So now I can run the M3 screw all the way in and see about how much I need to leave, and then I cut the rest off, and there you go. That's the finished end. The ends look better. I just feel like it'll be a little stronger. I think I liked the look of it better without the screw heads going through, but it's I feel like I'm going to be a stronger fit. Also notice the 4 of the 6 holes I keep choosing. I choose the 2 in the middle and the 2 on the end, and that just seems to work best for the way these thick strings want to wrap around and get to the bridge. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so I bought a bunch of these things over the years from different retailers, and I spent the money on the ones that actually say Bigsby in here, and then I've also bought the ones that don't, and I found really there's no difference in quality. I have yet to see a difference in quality between the ones that are actually say Bigsby licensed on them and the ones that do not, and these are about a third of the cost as the ones that say Bigsby. And I mean, that's actually a pretty good opportunity for doing your own branding right there. And this is fine for a guitar, but when you start talking about doing basses and bass sixes and stuff, you're going to want to go and find the oversized spring that you can find online also for a few bucks and put that in there. And that's going to make all the difference for stability and tuning on this instrument. So now, with just this regular old inexpensive, off-brand Bigsby style top piece and that oversized spring and these oversized pegs, you are set to make your bass go wah, wah, wah. I mean, who doesn't want to do that?